Today there are a lot of fear-inducing animals, but be more than glad that none of these 10 are still alive to this day. Especially number 1, so stay tuned to find out just what that is. Here are the top 10 terrifying animals that luckily are extinct. Number 10. The Tully Monster. Let's start this list off with the least terrifying creature on this list, but at the same time, the only one on this list to be called a true monster. At first glance, the Tully Monster looks superficially slug-like, but where you expect its mouth to be, the creature has a long thin appendage ending in what looks like a pair of grasping claws. Then there are its eyes, which protrude outward from its body on stalks. It was first discovered at Mason Creek in Illinois in the 1950s. Ever since it was found, scientists have been unable to agree on whether Tully was a vertebrate or an invertebrate. A previous report in 2016 did claim that Tully must be a vertebrate, but even that conclusion is being contested. Vertebrate or not, it doesn't take away from the sheer terrifying looks of this prehistoric monster. Number 9. Andrewsarchus. Andrewsarchus is thought to be the largest meat-eating land mammal known to have ever existed. This is despite the fact that only its skull has ever been found, which was measured at 33 inches long. If their impression is correct, Andrewsarchus was 6 feet high and 16 feet long. It had long, strong jaws, which it used to eat a variety of foods. It would have weighed about 1,800 pounds, with a guess to be able to possibly exceed that range and perhaps over 2,200 pounds. Being so large, it was thought to have moved slowly and wasn't really an excellent hunter, so scientists think that it was a scavenger. It was also probably an omnivore and took advantage of eating plants when meat became scarce. Interestingly enough, this animal is an ungulate, animals from which hippos and whales evolved. Number 8. ANOMALOCARIS. Before killer whales and polar bears, before sharks and tyrannosaurs, the world's top predator was probably a bizarre animal aforementionedly called ANOMALOCARIS. It lived in the Cambrian period over 500 million years ago when life was confined to the seas and animals took on bizarre shapes that haven't been seen since. Many scientists believe that this animal ruled this primordial world as a top predator. It was also speculated to be the largest hunter of its time. It chased after prey with undulating flaps on its sides and a large fan-shaped tail. It grabbed at them with large spiked arms and it bit into them with a square tooth-lined mouth, and it tracked them with large stalked eyes. The surface of the eyes are covered in tiny lenses packed in a hexagonal grid. Each eye has at least 16,700 individual lenses, making this animal the proud owners of the most sophisticated compound eyes ever known. Only a few arthropods have similar or better resolution, such as modern predatory dragonflies that can possess up to 28,000 lenses in each eye. Number 7. PELAGORNIS sandersi. With a wingspan of about 21 feet, PELAGORNIS sandersi was nearly twice the width of a wandering albatross, the living bird with the greatest wingspan at 12 feet. That ginormous wingspan makes it the largest bird to have ever existed. It lived about 25 million years ago. The first fossils, a skull plus some wing and leg bones, were found in Charleston, South Carolina in 1983. The specimen was so large that it had to be dug out with a backhoe. Its beak possessed bizarre tooth-like spikes that lined the upper and lower jaws, revealing the bird was a previously unknown species of pelagornithid, an extinct group of giant seabirds known for these pseudo-teeth. They are very conical and pointed, which suggests they were used for piercing prey. The most likely source of food for these birds were fish and squid near the surface of the water. At 88 pounds, many would think that it was impossible for these birds to fly, which is partially true. Although it probably couldn't have just flapped its wings to generate lift, research has shown that the bird was an incredibly efficient glider, whose long, slender wings helped it stay aloft despite its enormous size. It may have gotten off the ground by running downhill into a headwind or taking advantage of air gusts to get aloft, much like a hang glider. Number 6. Basilosaurus. Basilosaurus was a fearsome sharp-toothed creature that lived 40 to 35 million years ago and could grow 50 to 60 feet long. Its name means king lizard. Funny enough though, Basilosaurus wasn't a lizard at all. It was a strange predatory whale. At first, scientists thought it was some sort of aquatic reptile, like the ones that swam in the oceans at the time of the dinosaurs. However, the Eocene, when Basilosaurus lived, was long after the time of the dinosaurs and their aquatic relatives, when mammals ruled the earth. By studying the animal's teeth, scientists found that it was actually one of those mammals, but it chose to rule the waters instead. Not a ton is actually known about this mighty creature, mostly because some of its body parts weren't preserved long enough for scientists to find them. Usually nothing at all is left of an animal that's been dead for millions of years. We know that Basilosaurus was the largest meat-eater of its time, and we know that it went extinct as the climate changed, but we don't know what color it was. We also don't know much about its behavior. But based on recent fossil evidence, scientists discovered that it was a ferocious and active hunter, preferring to bite its prey on the head to incapacitate it. Luckily, you don't have to worry about running into the fearsome Basilosaurus when you're out at sea, because this creature went extinct 35 million years ago. Number 5. The LIOPLEURODON. LIOPLEURODON was an aquatic reptile predator with 4 paddle-like fins and an enormous pair of jaws. Most people's first encounter with this creature was in 1999 when the BBC featured this marine reptile in its popular Walking with Dinosaurs TV series. Unfortunately, the producers depicted LIOPLEURODON with a grossly exaggerated length of over 80 feet, while a more accurate estimate is actually about 30 feet. Still, 30 feet, 4 feet of which is jaws, is still a bit too big for comfort. Although LIOPLEURODON didn't represent the evolutionary peak of underwater propulsion, which is to say they weren't as speedy as modern great white sharks, they were certainly fleet enough to fulfill their dietary needs. With its 4 broad, flat lung flippers, LIOPLEURODON could thrust itself through the water at a considerable speed, and perhaps more important for hunting purposes, to quickly accelerate in pursuit of prey when circumstances demanded. Then again, its speed is actually not its main hunting tool, but rather its nose. These nostrils are forward-facing, leading scientists to think that this marine reptile had a well-developed sense of smell, and could locate prey from a pretty far distance away. Number 4. Gorgonops. Gorgonops was a creature that lived in what is now southern Africa during the late Permian era, between 260 and 254 million years ago. It was a synapsid, which means it belonged to the same group as mammals, yet it also shared characteristics with animals we consider reptiles. Because of this, Gorgonops and its close relatives are also informally referred to as mammal-like reptiles. The largest Gorgonops measured about 6 feet long from snout to tail and would have been a voracious carnivore. One of the most characteristic traits of Gorgonops and other Gorgonopsids were its saber teeth, the first saber teeth on the planet. Unlike the jaws of the later saber-toothed, such as Smilodon from the Pliocene, the jaws of Gorgonops were relatively long, but they only had 2 types of teeth, the killing saber-like canines and the shorter incisors. Together, these teeth and jaws made effective killing weapons, but were useless at chewing meat, and the Gorgonopsids probably fed in a manner similar to modern Komodo dragons or crocodilians. They ripped away chunks of flesh and swallowed them whole. Number 3. Argentavis magnificens. Before the discovery of Pelagornis sandersi, Argentavis magnificens was hailed as the largest flying bird to have ever existed. Also known as the giant teratorn, Argentavis had an estimated wingspan of 16.7 to 19.9 feet. Fossils of this extinct species have been obtained mainly from central and northwestern Argentina. Argentavis lived and searched for food in territories measuring probably more than 500 square kilometers. It was more of a scavenger than a predator. It's actually possible that it usually chased other carnivores and consumed their kills. Argentavis had a large, slender bill with a hooked tip and a wide gape. When hunting actively, Argentavis swooped from high above down onto their prey, grabbed, killed, and swallowed it without landing, and probably giving the in-flight meal its early definition. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's pick shows us a clearly still capture from the live-action remake of The Jungle Book. It shows a scene of Mowgli talking to an unusually large orangutan. A primate of that size couldn't have actually existed, could it? Well, find out next with number 2. Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus blacki is an extinct giant hominid that once inhabited dense forests of Southeast Asia. As the name suggests, the giant primate was larger than gorillas, standing up to 10 feet and weighing up to 1,200 pounds. It was first discovered by the German paleontologist Gustav von Koenigswald in 1935, when he described an isolated tooth that he found in a Hong Kong drugstore. The story that Gustav went to the drugstore to get medicine for his toothache is unsubstantiated. Their closest living relatives are orangutans, but there are rumors that Gigantopithecus still exists today. But we call it by another name, Bigfoot. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. Megalania. Think of the largest living Komodo dragon, but on steroids, and you get Megalania. Megalania measured anywhere from 12 to 25 feet from head to tail and weighed in the neighborhood of 500 to 4,000 pounds. A pretty wide discrepancy to be sure, but one that would still put it in a heftier weight class than the largest lizard alive today, the Komodo dragon, at a paltry 150 pounds. One interesting fact about Megalania is that it is the largest identified lizard ever to have lived on our planet. If that makes you do a double take, remember that Megalania technically belongs to the order Squamata and is not really a dinosaur. Paleontologists speculate that Megalania was the apex predator of Pleistocene Australia, feasting at leisure on mammalian megafauna like Diprotodon, better known as the giant wombat, and Procoptodon, also called the giant short-faced kangaroo. Megalania is yet another one of those extinct animals that are claimed to still exist. Which of these 10 are you glad to be extinct? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want to watch more interesting videos? Click on any of the videos you see on your screen. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.